grabbing her. He's grabbing her. Get in.
Get in. Go. In. Go.
He's grabbing her. He's grabbing her.
Sheriff's Department. Come on.
Hey, grab her feet. Just grab her feet. Grab her feet. Hey, someone.
Somebody killed my baby. Somebody who never even had a fight before in her life. The mother's choked voice echoed in the middle of the Miami night, making everyone present speechless. On the cold ground, right on the stairs of the Coral Bay Cove apartment complex, the body of LaShante Jones, 24 years old, was still lying there, eyes wide open, and as if not believing that her life had ended in just a few seconds. Next to her was her 3-year-old daughter, Elijah, still trembling from the bullet wound that had grazed her. The young mother had just finished her shift at Miami International Airport, less than 15 minutes before, and now she had become the victim of a brutal assassination. But what made everyone even more horrified was the video that appeared just a few hours later. In it, the killer grinned, showing off a wad of cash. The blood money that had just been exchanged for the life of a mother and the lifelong obsession of a child. Miami, the city of neon lights, endless beaches and reggaeton music mixed with the ocean breeze. But behind the glitz there is always a dark side, where violence, jealousy, and revenge lurk in every corner. And it was here, on a May evening in 2021, that a young woman's fate was decided. LaShante Jones, affectionately known as Shante, is the epitome of a resilient single mother. Born in 1997, she grew up in a poor family in Miami-Dade. Life was not easy, but LaShante never let the circumstances dampen her smile. Friends describe her as the life of the party, someone who always brings positive energy to those around her. LaShante's greatest love is her little daughter, Elijah. When her daughter was born, LaShante once told her mother, "This is the reason I never give up." She worked tirelessly. From Walmart to her lucky break at TSA, the Transportation Security Administration of the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. The airport job not only provided LaShante with a living, but also gave her pride. Helping to protect the safety of millions of passengers every day. Thinking that life was gradually stabilizing, LaShante had no idea that an old feud was slowly creeping up. In 2018, she had a confrontation with a woman named Jasmine Martinez, a seemingly small fight that left a deep mark. When Jasmine was arrested for assaulting LaShante, the resentment between the two grew even stronger. As time passed, it seemed like everything had calmed down, but in reality, the fire of hatred was still smoldering, waiting to explode. On the 3rd of May 2021, LaShante finished her late shift at Miami International Airport. She stopped by her sister's house to pick up Elijah, then drove back to the seemingly peaceful Coral Bay Cove apartment complex. Surveillance cameras captured LaShante holding her daughter's hand as she took her final steps in life. When the gray Nissan Sentra pulled up next to her, no one could have guessed that just seconds later, everything would be in ruins. The sound of gunfire rang out. The young mother was hit multiple times and collapsed right in front of her house. Elijah was slightly injured, blood dripping down his small shoes. Neighbors heard her screams and ran out, only to see the car speed away. On the concrete floor, LaShante lay motionless, blood flowing from her body, still wearing her TSA uniform. The scene stunned the entire community. Who could bear to attack an unarmed woman holding a baby in her arms? That question echoed throughout the night, from the mouths of relatives to urgent news broadcasts on local television. But the tragedy did not stop there. A few hours later, a video was posted on social media. In the video, a young man, his face showing a look of glee, sat in front of the camera, laughing heartily, counting the newly received bills. The boastful words seemed to rub salt into the still bleeding wounds of the Lashante family. The death of a mother, a colleague, a filial son, now turned into a pastime, evidence of a spine-chilling trafficking in human lives. Immediately, Miami-Dade police got involved. The evidence at the scene, witness statements, and especially the video showing off the money, revealed a terrifying truth. This was not a random attack. This was a murder for hire, carefully planned in advance. So who paid to take Lashante's life, and why? Miamians were shocked, because the case was not simply a cold-blooded crime, but also exposed the dark corners of hatred, betrayal, and how money can turn people into demons. That night, as investigators collected the bullet casings scattered around Lashante's body, a haunting question hung in the air. Did it all start with a personal grudge, or was there another hand behind the scenes pulling the strings? If you find this a story worth following, click subscribe to not miss the next developments. Because what's waiting behind might leave you even more stunned. In the early hours after the shooting, the atmosphere in the Coral Bay Cove apartment complex was heavy with mourning. Residents stood behind yellow police tape, chattering incessantly. Everyone knew Lashante, the young woman with the bright smile who greeted them every morning. That someone like her had been killed right in front of her house, in her daughter's arms, filled everyone with both grief and anger. It didn't take long for Miami-Dade police to determine that this wasn't a robbery. No property had been taken. The car was intact, and her wallet was in her pocket. All signs pointed to the attacker's sole objective, Lashante's life. Surveillance footage from the apartment complex provided the first piece of the puzzle. A gray Nissan Sentra, with no front plate, entered the frame just as Lashante was getting out of the car. The blurry image shows a man in dark clothing stepping out, shooting her in the face, and then quickly fleeing. But what sent chills down investigators' spines was the video that went viral just hours later. In the video, the man identified as Javon Carter, a violent felon, sits in front of the camera, showing off crisp $100 bills. He laughs and says, "Here's the money. The job's done, a hit for hire. And if someone is hired, someone must hire someone." As police began to look into Lashante's connections, one name quickly stood out: Jasmine Martinez. In 2018, Jasmine was arrested for assaulting Lashante after a heated argument. No one knows where the conflict originated, but a deep hatred has existed between the two ever since. Further investigation revealed that Lashante had testified against Kelly Nelson, Jasmine's ex-boyfriend, in a robbery. Lashante's testimony had helped land Nelson in prison, and from that moment on, Jasmine saw her as a thorn that had to be removed at all costs. Investigators found a series of text messages and phone calls in her phone records. They revealed a chilling truth. Jasmine had repeatedly contacted a man named Ramiel Robinson, who had served more than 10 years for armed robbery. It was Robinson who was the bridge between Jasmine and Javon Carter, the shooter. In a recorded call from February 2021, Jasmine bluntly told her ex-boyfriend Nelson, while he was still in prison, "I'm going to kill Lashante." The chilling words were like a death sentence hanging over the young mother's head. What made the public even more outraged was how Jasmine got the money to pay for the assassination. She was a small beauty salon owner who had received a PPP loan. The $15,000 was supposed to save the business from bankruptcy. Instead, Jasmine withdrew the cash and gave it to Robinson to arrange a contract kill. The pieces began to fall into place. Revenge, personal grudges, rent money, and someone willing to pull the trigger for a wad of cash. In the eyes of the community, Lashante had no enemies. She was a young mother, a devoted TSA agent, a dutiful daughter, but in Jasmine's eyes, she was living proof of failure, of a grudge that had never subsided. Now investigators faced a big question. How could they prove that Jasmine was the mastermind behind the murder? A video showing off money might convict Javon, but they needed more than that to bring Jasmine to justice. Meanwhile, Lashante's mother, Darlene Dukes, stood before the cameras, tearfully pleading, "Please help me find the person who killed my daughter. I did the best I could to raise my children, but now, they've taken my child, taken Elijah's mother." The call sparked outrage. Everyone wondered, how cold-hearted could a woman be to plan to murder a young mother in front of her 3-year-old child? And if it was Jasmine, how many others were caught up in this deadly feud? That's when the police decided to play their trump card. Wiretapping, monitoring, and tracing the hidden connections between Jasmine, Robinson, and Carter. The story from here will unfold a much darker picture, where jealousy and greed have turned government relief money into a tool to buy and sell death. There are many more chilling details behind this truth, details that will surely leave you speechless. If you find this story worth continuing to follow, please subscribe so you don't miss the next part. In the days after Lashante's death, Miami-Dade police were engaged in a complex investigation, like unraveling a tangled web. While Javon Carter's money-showing video quickly put him in their crosshairs, they needed more than a dumb shooter to brag about the whole thing online. Investigators began by tracing Carter's phone transactions. A warrant was issued to examine Carter's call records, and there they found the first clues. Mysterious calls to Romiel Robinson, who had been in prison for armed robbery. Robinson was not at the scene, but he had been in constant communication with Carter before and after the 12th of March. As the search continued, another name emerged: Jasmine Martinez. Investigators were left breathless by the intense communication between Martinez and Robinson, many of the calls lasting dozens of minutes, occurring just before Carter pulled the trigger. It was here that a chilling question arose. Was Jasmine Martinez, a mother of 2 and former beauty salon owner, the one who ordered the murder of Lashante, also a young mother like her? The police decided to set a trap. They obtained a warrant to tap Martinez's phone. In a series of recordings, Jasmine's voice appeared, husky but confident. In one conversation, she said, "I don't care, as long as that girl is gone." A statement so cold that the entire investigation team was silent for a few seconds when they heard it again. But innuendos weren't enough. They needed hard evidence. And then, like an unexpected gift, money betrayed Martinez. According to financial records, Jasmine had just received a $15,000 PPP loan, a government bailout for small businesses struggling during the pandemic. But instead of using it to pay employees or keep the shop running, The money was quickly withdrawn in cash. Just days later, Javon Carter posted a video showing off $100 bills that still smelled of paper. The coincidence was too perfect to be a coincidence. Investigators painstakingly pieced together the pieces. The video showing off the money, the long phone calls, the deleted but recovered text messages, and Jasmine's violent past with Lashante. The picture became clearer. This was not just a routine murder, but a long-planned contract assassination. Meanwhile, the victim's family's grief deepened. Lashante's mother, Darlene, came to visit Elijah every day. The 3-year-old still couldn't understand why his mother wasn't home. At times, Elijah would ask, "Grandma, where's Mom? Is Mom still in the hospital?" That innocent question stabbed the grandmother in the heart. Local media continuously reported on the case, turning it into a public sensation. Neighbors brought flowers to lay in front of Lashante's apartment, creating a makeshift but tearful memorial. People were outraged at the idea that a woman would use relief money, meant to keep her business afloat during the pandemic, to hire someone to kill another mother. Amid mounting public pressure and mounting evidence, the police decided to act. In March 2022, exactly 1 year after the murder, Jasmine Martinez was arrested. As she was led away in handcuffs, she held her head high, her eyes cold, not a single tear shed. At the same time, Romiel Robinson and Javon Carter were also charged. The trio were the links in a deadly conspiracy. Jasmine was the mastermind, Robinson was the broker, and Carter was the triggerman. Police also found chilling text messages between Jasmine and Robinson. In them, Jasmine asked, "Are you done?" Just minutes after Lashante collapsed in front of her daughter, Robinson simply replied, "It's okay." Each detail, each piece of evidence that has been released is like a hammer, hammering on Martinez's coffin. But the case still has many unanswered questions. How deep is the true motive for the hatred? And who else is behind Jasmine's support that has yet to be revealed? This story does not end there. As the trial begins, a series of shocking details will emerge. From shocking witness testimony to the way the prosecutor lays out the truth to the jury. But one thing is certain, Lashante Jones's death is more than a personal tragedy. It exposes the dark side of hatred, of pettiness that can turn cold-blooded, and the bitter truth that even relief money in the midst of a pandemic can be turned into a deadly weapon. The Miami-Dade County Courthouse was packed from early morning. Hundreds of residents, reporters, friends, and family of Lashante Jones crowded outside, hoping to witness the moment when justice might come to her family. Inside, cold, neon lights reflected off the gray walls. The air was thick and suffocating. In the public section, Lashante's mother, Darlene, sat motionless, her hands clutching a handkerchief that was soaked with tears. Beside her, little Elijah was absent, because no one wanted a 3-year-old to face the image of the person who killed his mother. At the defendant's table, Jasmine Martinez appeared in an orange prison uniform. Contrary to what many people imagined, her face showed no remorse or fear. Her eyes were cold, even arrogant, as if challenging the entire courtroom. Behind her were her 2 co-defendants, Romiel Robinson and Javon Carter, each with their own attorney. The trial opened with the prosecutor's statement. He stood tall, his voice booming in the room. "Gentlemen of the jury, today you are going to hear a story about more than just murder. This is a story about betrayal, revenge, and the use of government relief money, as an instrument of death. Defendant Jasmine Martinez meticulously planned and hired someone to kill a young mother, right in front of her 3-year-old child. And we will prove it, piece by piece. The room fell silent. Jasmine's defense attorney immediately countered, trying to sow doubt in the minds of the jury. My client did not order the murder. This is all speculation. A video showing off money, a few phone calls. All of it could be misinterpreted. You can't convict a mother based on speculation, but the prosecutor was over-prepared. One by one, the evidence was presented. A video of Carter laughing and showing off a stack of brand-new money, just hours after LaShante was shot. A bank statement showing Jasmine withdrawing exactly $10,000 from a PPP loan, just days before the crime. A call log. Dozens of communications between Jasmine and Robinson and Carter, around the exact time of the crime. A recovery message. Jasmine asking Robinson, "Are you done yet?" Right after the gunshots rang out. A surprise witness was also called to the stand. A former neighbor of Jasmine's who had heard her vow to finish LaShante multiple times. He testified that Jasmine had said, "That girl will not live in peace, I swear." While the prosecutor was presenting, Jasmine's eyes remained indifferent, occasionally flashing a contemptuous smile. The gesture seemed to add fuel to the fire, making the public even more outraged. Then came Javon Carter, the man who pulled the trigger. He stood in court, trying to justify that he just did it for the money and didn't know who LaShante was. But that statement sent shivers down the room. A life was taken, not because of personal grudges, but for a few $1,000s. Romeo Robinson, the broker, was also questioned. When the prosecutor asked, "You took money from Jasmine to hire Carter, right?" Robinson remained silent, looking down at the floor. That silence, in the eyes of the jury, was a confession. In the audience, Darlene burst into tears as she listened to the text messages between Jasmine and Robinson. Many in the courtroom also shed tears. The image of a young mother murdered in front of her child appeared like a nightmare that no one wanted to remember. The defense tried to counter, saying that it was all a chain of coincidences. They argued that the PPP loan was cashed out by many people, and there was no evidence that the money was used for a contract killing. But the prosecutor shot back, "Then why did Carter have the exact same amount of cash on the day LaShante was murdered? And why did Martinez text Robinson, 'Are you done yet?' on the same day?" The entire courtroom turned to Jasmine. The public opinion outside the courtroom exploded throughout the days of the trial. News channels were constantly updated. Social media was abuzz with the hashtag number Justice for LaShante. Many called Jasmine a cold-blooded woman who turned relief money into the blood of an innocent mother. As the trial entered its final stages, the prosecutor ended with a chilling accusation. Jasmine Martinez didn't just take the life of LaShante Jones. She took a child's childhood, robbed a community of trust, and insulted people struggling to survive during a pandemic. If that doesn't deserve the maximum sentence, what does? The atmosphere in the courtroom was thick. All eyes were on the jury. Their decision would be the answer. But before the verdict was announced, Jasmine's lawyer made a surprise move, a shocking detail that could have turned the trial around. And at that moment, all of Miami held its breath. On the final day of the trial, the atmosphere in the courtroom was tense. After weeks of hearing evidence, watching videos, reading text messages, and listening to witnesses, everything now depended on the 12 members of the jury. Outside the courthouse, A crowd gathered, holding signs bearing pictures of Lashante and the words, "Justice for Lashante." Jasmine Martinez sat in the dock, her eyes cold as if she had never felt remorse. Across from her, Lashante's mother, Darlene, clasped her trembling hands, whispering a prayer. She knew she was about to hear a life-changing verdict, one that would not bring her daughter back, but at least bring some measure of justice. After hours of deliberation, the jury returned. The room stood. The judge banged his gavel, his voice solemn. In the case of the state of Florida v. Jasmine Martinez, the jury has returned a verdict. There was a long, suffocating silence. Guilty, first-degree murder. Guilty, conspiracy to murder. Guilty, using federal funds to commit a crime. A chorus of sobs erupted from the audience. Darlene collapsed, covering her face. Many hugged each other, tears streaming down their faces. The verdict could not erase the pain, but at least it affirmed the truth. Lashante was killed in cold blood, and the person behind it must pay the price. Jasmine sat motionless, showing no emotion. But the initial arrogant look in her eyes had disappeared, replaced by a blank look. Before being led away, she turned back to glance around the courtroom, her lips pressed tightly together. Not a word of apology, not a tear. Romiel Robinson was also found guilty with a heavy sentence, and Javon Carter, the shooter, was sentenced to life in prison without parole. For the community, this was a fitting result for three people who used hatred and greed to destroy a family. During the sentencing, the prosecutor could not hold back his emotions. "We lost a mother, a devoted employee, a young person. But today, at least, we affirm that the truth still matters. No one has the right to take another person's life and think they can get away with it." Outside the court, Darlene choked up and shared with the press, "I will never have my daughter back, but I believe Lashante is smiling somewhere, seeing that justice has been done. The only thing I have left is my granddaughter Elijah. I will raise her with all the love my daughter once gave her." Those words made many reporters and people cry. They understood that the pain of a mother who lost her child will never go away, but at least she received comfort from justice. This story spread across America, shocking because of its cruelty and absurdity. A bailout fund, designed to save small businesses during the pandemic, was turned into a tool to buy a contract murder. People say this case will forever be a stain on the history of those who take advantage of the kindness of society. For little Elijah, the future still has a long way to go. Many charities and individuals have offered to help, setting up scholarship funds so that he can have a better life. But nothing can replace the embrace of his mother. When the trial ended, many people still remember the scene of Darlene walking out of the courthouse door, looking up at the sunny Miami sky. She whispered, "My child. It's finally over." However, the big question still resonates. What makes a woman like Jasmine Martinez hate so much that she wants to destroy another person's life? Jealousy, hatred, or simply a heart consumed by darkness? Whatever the answer, Lashante Jones's death stands as a poignant testament to the destructive power of hate, and Jasmine's sentencing is a reminder that, ultimately, justice may be slow in coming, but it will never be absent. 4 years have passed since the gunshots took the life of Lashante Jones. But for her family, the pain feels like yesterday. The Coral Bay Cove apartment, once a warm home for mother and daughter, is now a haunting memory. Every time they pass by, neighbors still shudder at the memory of that terrible afternoon. The blood stains on the stairs have been cleaned up, but the loss is never erased. Lashante is not just a victim. She is a testament to the power of courage. In the face of danger, she chose to speak the truth. Even if it cost her her life, she refused to bow to threats. And it was that determination that made her a thorn in the side of criminals. Meanwhile, Jasmine Martinez, a woman who once had a chance to start her life over, chose a dark path. Instead of trying to overcome the past, she nurtured hatred. When Jasmine received the pandemic relief money, she did not use it to support her family or develop her business, but instead used it as a means to destroy a life. A decision that sank everything, from her own life to that of an innocent family. What shocked the public the most was the brazenness of the hired killer. He recorded a video showing off the reward money, smiling smugly. That action not only showed inhumanity, but also reflected a cold reality. There are people who consider human life worth only a few bills. The trial ended. Justice was served. But the void left by Lashante is irreplaceable. Her mother, Darlene, often sat silently in front of her daughter's photo, her eyes filled with nameless pain. "I raised a child to be a wonderful woman," she said at a memorial service. "But this world took her away from me." As for Elijah, who was only 3 years old that day, memories of his mother are now only fragments. As told by his grandmother and relatives, he grew up surrounded by the love of his family. But every time he saw his friends being picked up and dropped off at school by his mother, the loss quietly resurfaced. Elijah still bears small scars from shrapnel, a reminder that his painful past will forever be imprinted on his body and soul. Lashante's story has gone beyond the scope of a case. It has become a wake-up call about the dangers of hatred and the laxity in the system that can be exploited. Who could have imagined that a pandemic relief program, born to save hope, would be turned into a tool of death? Public outrage has prompted many discussions about tightening the management of relief funds so that no other Jasmine can exploit social support for criminal purposes. But on a deeper level, the case also raises a troubling question. How can people harbor so much hatred that there is no room for mercy? Jasmine chose revenge over forgiveness, destruction over healing, and as she was led away in chains, her empty eyes were proof that hatred never wins. It only leaves emptiness and destruction. At a vigil a year after Lashante's death, dozens of people lit candles in a local park. Amidst the sea of shimmering lights, Lashante's mother said in a choked voice, "My daughter is gone, but her spirit lives on. I pray that this story will prevent another family from feeling the pain I have." Hearing those words, many in the crowd shed tears, because they understand that sometimes justice is more than just a sentence in a courtroom. Justice is also a change in public awareness, a determination by everyone to not let a similar tragedy happen again. That night, the last candle was lit, flickering in the darkness. It is believed that somewhere, Lashante is watching, smiling when he sees that love and justice still exist. But then, one question still echoes. If you were Lashante, knowing that telling the truth could cost you your life, would you still have the courage to do the right thing? Perhaps that is the greatest legacy that Lashante left to the world. A challenge to our conscience. If you still want to continue to hear the whole truth about cases like this, don't forget to subscribe, because there are many other stories. Stories that can make you both heartbroken and startled, but also force you to think deeply about the line between justice and hatred.